creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Oh my god, they got him, dude, look! I know y'all have seen Matt Rife, right? He's got blonde hair now. Let's take a look at Matt Rife from the earlier years, okay? So, this is how he looked in the beginning. He looks a lot different, actually. Anyways, through the years. So now, this must have been right before he went blonde, right? Y'all take a good look at him. Look into his eyes. What do you see? I mean, really, though, what do you see? Then he pops up looking like Kiefer Sutherland on that movie, The Lost Boys, you know, when he was like the vampire or whatever. Looks just like him, right? We all know what vampires do, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that's what vampires do. So back to this picture right here, man. You see that bracelet right there? Let's take a closer look. At first, I thought it was one of those red bracelets, you know what I'm saying? Then I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's just like a little gold bracelet. Well, this specific bracelet, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's got 8 or 10. Okay, I'm back. It's got 10 dots all the way around. Those dots represent something kind of important. Just Google that and see what y'all come up with.
It's the ritual? Hey, look up blonde hair ritual.
Archaeologists in Turkey have just discovered a sarcophagus which they believe could belong to Saint Nicholas. Yeah, the real man who inspired Santa Claus. It's a Christmas miracle. The tomb was uncovered at the Church of St. Nicholas, where he served as a bishop in the 4th century. The church was built over his original burial site, but in the 11th century, his bones were reportedly moved to Italy. So for centuries, everyone kind of assumed that there was nothing left. But then, they made this new discovery hidden right near the altar, and it matches historical records, making experts believe that this could be his original resting place. I mean, if we find IRL Santa, IRL Santa before GTA 6, how do we top that?
Impossible. He was just at the mall.
This right here is a Krampus celebration going on in Norway.
Wow.
I'm not trying to ruin Christmas for you. I'm just showing you how other people celebrate Christmas around the world. By the way, credit to that guy right there. So this right here, Krampus, is actually a half demon, some other kind of monster that's supposed to come and punish children. And he comes on behalf and with Saint Nick. This story gets a whole lot stranger and a whole lot darker in 1 second. That second is now. You're probably wondering, what does Krampus do to adults? He comes to put people in the chains of bondage. You can't even make this up. Which brings us to Saint Nick. Have y'all ever thought it strange that Santa Claus lives at the North Pole? He sees you when you're sleeping. He sees you when you're awake. He's all-knowing, omnipotent, always there to give someone according to their works. He punishes the children badly with birch rods. And the North Pole, where Santa lives, being omnipotent, they also have the aurora, which the colors mimic that of God's throne. You see what I'm saying? They're trying to make Santa in the likeness of God and an anagram for Satan, just for fun. And the North Pole, home to Rufus Nigra, the great magnetic mountain of the North. Also on all the maps before the 1700s. I would even argue more protected than Antarctica itself. Wonder why? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
I rebuke this.
Listen to this.
The best supplements I think everyone should be taking outside of going and getting a blood test is creatine monohydrate. 5 grams. I've got my parents taking creatine. That's how much I believe in it.
This lady is neurophysiologist Louisa Nicola, and she is talking about creatine monohydrate, which is one of the most studied supplements on the planet. Not only is this a supplement I recommend all my clients take for strength, but a recent study tested the effects of creatine on IQ and memory, and the results are incredible. So this is why everybody, including your elderly parents and even your young children, should start taking creatine. Now, the study above shows the results from a group of people that took creatine and a group that took a placebo. And after just 18 weeks, those taking the creatine doubled their scores on average on IQ and memory. Now, I will link all the science-backed studies below, but creatine is safe, affordable, and effective for all age ranges. So if you comment below or message me the word SUP, I will send you some amazing information for free, plus the 3 supplements you should start taking to notice some big changes to your health.
I heard it has an adverse effect on kidneys. Always consult your physician, folks.
So the CIA released a document saying the universe is a hologram, and basically the document teaches you how to access superhuman abilities as well as use your consciousness to shift your reality. I'm breaking down this document section by section, and this is part 4. This section is pretty short but very interesting because it talks about the use of the hemisync. What they notice is by putting people through the hemisync system, they could have people access advanced states of meditation, maybe some states that would take the average meditator 20 years to reach, and they could have them reach it pretty much in 10 to 15 minutes. And these states would be where the left and right brain come into complete coherence, so much so that it seems like the whole body and the brain and heart come into coherence as well. Which, for anyone who's familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, he talks a lot about the power of brain and heart coherence. And for those who don't know, hemi-syncing is when you have a different frequency playing in each ear, both between 4 and 7 hertz. And based on what they're saying here, this accelerates your meditative experience and can help you astral travel or astral project much, much quicker.
So basically, I have been stressed out in a simulation.
Good afternoon.
Alhamdulillah, look at that. Fly. Fly. Baca lagi. Okay.
This is Mr. Jerome Powell, the most expensive voice on earth. If you trade Forex, you know what I'm talking about. Ooh. What? Ooh.
It is a new hour here on Live Now from Fox, and we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of raping a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit, and the new allegations are just coming out this evening. Jay-Z is being accused of raping a minor along with Diddy at a MTV VMAs after party back in 2000, according to documents obtained by Fox News Digital tonight. The lawsuit, which was initially filed back in October, was refiled tonight in New York by an anonymous accuser claiming Jay-Z, whose full name is Sean Carter, raped her while Combs and Celebrity B watched. So that other celebrity was not named. Initially, the lawsuit stated Combs raped the minor while Celebrity A and Celebrity B watched. Carter was named as Celebrity A in the refiled lawsuit. Representatives for Jay-Z did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital request for comment. Combs and Carter allegedly, quote, took turns assaulting the minor, according to the lawsuit. Many others were present at the after party but did nothing to stop the assault, it alleges. The 13-year-old girl was dropped off at Radio City Music Hall by a friend as she wanted to attend the MTV Video Music Awards back in 2000, according to the lawsuit. In an attempt to gain entry to the venue, she began approaching limousine drivers waiting outside the celebrity-filled event. One of the limousine drivers she spoke to claimed to work for Diddy, the lawsuit read. He told her that Combs liked younger girls and said that, quote, she fit what Diddy was looking for, not allowing her into the awards, but inviting her to an after party. The 13-year-old, quote, recognized many celebrities upon arrival at the party and was required to sign a non-disclosure agreement. However, she was not given a copy. Combs, who would have been 30 years old at the time, then allegedly attempted to force the girl to perform oral sex on him. He stopped after she hit him in the neck, according to the lawsuit here. So now Jay-Z being accused in this now 24 years ago, raping a 13-year-old alongside Diddy at an after party here. So these are the newest allegations rocking the music world this evening, and we wanted to bring that to your attention all right here on Live Now from Fox. Of course, we will continue to follow this major story as the Diddy saga continues, and now more celebrities getting caught up in it here. These new allegations rocking Hollywood and the music industry as we speak right now.
The biggest shame of all this that it took 20 plus years to come to light. Oh, life gives you signs. Unfortunately, sometimes the sign is behind you.
You were like one of the first guys to do these singleton missions.
Yeah.
What's the protocol?
There's guys that like can make it happen. You probably got guys like this. Any task you give a guy, he's just like, wait, you're done with that already? Like, I'm one of those guys. That's like one of my better qualities.
The problem is, once you do one of these, now you're the guy that can go do these things.
Yeah, and I did hundreds in Iraq. I fucking loved it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You loved it.
Loved it.
It's
Loved
just
being
like-
alone, man.
I love it.
That. Yo, you, okay, think about this, Joe. And you do jujitsu and you fight, right? You want to depend on yourself, or you want to depend on yourself and people you don't know what the they're made of. Who the are you going to trust?
You gotta trust yourself.
Right? So it wasn't really a big stretch for me to be alone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, but it's still a very unusual mindset.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. And then my other mindset is like, no matter where I am, no matter what I do, everyone in a 25-yard radius is gonna fucking die.
What?
Just so I can make it home.
He ain't got trauma. He got nostalgia.
Okay, major breaking news. The Syrian government has officially fallen in what is truly a seismic moment for the Middle East. Now, if you've been hearing about this, but you don't really know what's going on, essentially, rebel forces have been making their way to the country's capital, Damascus, for the past few days. But then, the huge moment came last night when the now former president Assad was forced to flee the country, ending his 24-year rule. But this is even crazier when you consider that Assad came to power in the year 2000 after his father ruled the country for 29 years. So that's 53 years of similar rule ended overnight. Now, of course, it's never as easy as, is this a good or a bad thing? It's complicated. Some see this as a good thing, saying that Assad and his father were authoritarian leaders who suppressed protests, crushed all forms of dissent, and ruled with an iron fist and were propped up by Russia and Iran. In fact, and this is one of the biggest things, is that in 2011 there was an uprising against Assad, which led to an all-out civil war. It's been raging for the last 13 years, 500,000 people have been killed, and 12 million have been displaced. And so, with last night's developments, it's hoped that the end of this civil war has finally come. And so many are hoping that with the end of Assad's rule, it will usher in the start of a new era for the country, which countless Syrians are celebrating in the streets right now. But not everyone sees this as all good, because the rebel forces, HST, which have now captured Damascus, have their own issues too. It is designated as a terrorist group by the US, their leader has a $10 million wanted bounty, and there are already some serious human rights concerns in the areas that they control. So because the country is now in uncharted territory, no one really knows how this is all going to play out. But as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
Governments are falling all over. People are starting to realize that they are have more power than those in power.
So there's been some videos surfacing of a Chinese police robot ball that's capable of helping apprehend criminals by firing nets out. It goes on patrol with the police officers in the streets. Apparently this thing's equipped with artificial intelligence that helps guide it along, and it can operate autonomously. From what I've read up on it, it can effectively operate in a variety of different conditions, including off-road terrain and also in the water. It can float, it can roll on smooth asphalt, and it can also go off-road if it needs to. Apparently it can even fall from a significantly high height and continue moving and be unfazed. It's capable of traveling at speeds of up to 35 kilometers per hour and can even utilize that as a means to conduct offensive maneuvers against criminals that it's trying to apprehend. It can also link up with other balls and coordinate with them in order to help police officers on the ground apprehend suspects. From what I've read, it's also pretty durable. Now, I don't know how long this thing's been around, but the videos I started seeing about it started surfacing in October of 2024.
The world is turning into a sci-fi movie.
This is insane. This kid from Australia has just become the fastest 16-year-old in history. Yes, even faster than Usain Bolt at that age. Yesterday, Gao Gao made history in the 200 meter because not only did he smash the under 18 record, but he ran a 20.04, which is the fastest 200 meters ever run by a 16-year-old. He even broke the all-time Australian record held by Peter Norman for over 56 years. And bro is doing this at 16. And when it comes to his 100 meter, he also set an under 18 Australian record at 10.17. Honestly, this is the most exciting runner to watch since Bolt. And if he can stay injury-free, remember the name Gao Gao.
Bro is using VPN. Oh. Oh man. Look at that mama. Oh. 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 Hey. Oh, look at you. Oh. Oh. I love seeing this type of video. Oh my goodness. Wow. Cats are something else. Woo. That's dangerous. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at you. Oh. Oh. Did I just see a cat run on water?
Why should a guy date you?
Well, I put them as my #1 priority, loyal, and I don't entertain any other guys. They have my full attention.
And you think a man values loyalty the most in his woman?
Yes, 100%.
Why would a man want that?
Because why does a man want a girl that talks to 50 million other guys?
So if we were dating and then you had a guy slide in your DMs and he said, hey, you're beautiful, how would you respond to him?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't tell him, sorry, I have a boyfriend, nothing?
Respond at all. I'd send it to my boyfriend, and I wouldn't respond at all.
What gives you that mentality?
Because I want the same respect. So I'm going to respect them to have that same respect in return.
So you're a man, if a chick DM'd him, he should act the same way?
Yes, 100%.
What if your man was like a gynecologist?
Come
and
on,
he worked
bro.
on a woman all the time. Would you feel a type of way about that?
If he gave me a reason not to trust him, then yeah. But if he gave me every reason to trust him, then no.
I see a unicorn. There's 100% wife material right there.
So much has happened in the last 24 hours, it's insane. California was hit with a 7.0 magnitude earthquake, which then triggered a tsunami warning, which was then cancelled. The French government has literally collapsed after their prime minister was booted out in the first successful vote of no confidence in over 60 years. Romania's constitutional court has just ordered their presidential elections to restart from scratch after intelligence documents suggested that the winner of the first round benefited from a mass foreign influence operation. People are calling for the Hoktua girl to be investigated after she launched a meme coin that dropped over 90% of its value overnight, losing people millions of dollars. The words carved onto the shells used in the killing of United Health CEO are claimed to lead to this book titled Delay, Deny, Defend: Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. The Czech Republic has just passed a bill exempting Bitcoin held for more than 3 years from capital gains tax starting 2025. The family of the teenage boy who fell to his death on the drop ride at Orlando theme park in 2022 has just been awarded a huge $310 million payout.
Wow.
TikTok lost its appeal to strike down the TikTok ban law, and NASA has just delayed its first mission to put humans on the moon in over 50 years to no earlier than mid-2027.
Crazy stuff happening here too in Indonesia.
I brought something I have never shown before.
What do you got?
And I believe it's evil. You want to see it?
Yeah, I do. What is it?
I got to get it out of my box.
Oh, you got a box.
I brought a box.
I'm kind of scared. What's that?
Hey, can you Google Saddam Hussein Mauser?
This is his hat?
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's the one where he shoots the Mauser in the air at the parade grounds. I was given that by his tailor.
Wow.
Yeah, that one. The liner fell out. The liner's in here. Look, it's you can see what kind of hat it is. The glue fell out of the liner, but look.
Whoa. That's crazy.
I rolled up his tailor and all his butlers. Anybody who touched his, fed him or touched his, I rolled them up.
Wow.
Saddam was captured 9 days after I left. I had to leave for Christmas.
This is crazy. This was on his head, now it's here.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Yeah. But it's a Piccadilly fox fur hat. I also have a sweater.
Bro is still in combat mode.
Jay-Z and Diddy now. This is an amended complaint accusing Jay-Z of a 13-year-old girl in 2000 along with Sean Diddy Combs. This is a new civil filing, and we see the anonymous accuser here alleging the assault occurred after she was driven to an MTV Music Video Awards after party. This lawsuit was originally filed in October, just today refiled to include Jay-Z. I mean, let's start with the basics here. What are you learning about this? What is standing out to you?
Well, what is standing out to me is she was very specific about several things. She describes the house, she describes the driveway, she describes the exact assault, what happened. She talks about various stages of things that occurred. And I think that this is good because this way it can either be corroborated or not corroborated.
This week,
According to Jaguar Wright, there are hundreds, and Jay-Z worse than Diddy, she said.
Federal court upheld a law that could result in TikTok being banned. You said you're going to rescue TikTok when you get into office. Are you going to take steps to protect it?
Yeah, and as you know, I use TikTok very successfully in my campaign. I have a man named TikTok Jack who was very effective, obviously, because I won youth by 30%. All Republicans lose youth. I don't know why. Maybe it's changing. And last time we were down 30% with youth. This time we're up 35% with youth. And I use TikTok, so I can't really, I can't totally hate it. It was very effective. But I will say this, if you do that, something else is going to come along and take its place. And maybe that's not fair. What they're doing, and really what the judge actually said was that you can't have Chinese companies. In other words, they have the right to ban it if you can prove that the Chinese companies own it. That's what the judge asked.
So are you going to try to protect TikTok just very quickly once you're in office?
I'm going to try and make it so that other companies don't become an even bigger monopoly.
Okay.
Because that's what happened.
I appreciate his answer. Y'all would rather him lie and say yes or no. He doesn't know if he can or he can't. He'll prevent big socials like Facebook from gaining of its loss.
Okay, breaking news. Jay-Z is now being accused in a civil lawsuit of raping a 13-year-old girl in the year 2000 along with Diddy. Now, the alleged victim, who is anonymous and identified only as Jane Doe, she said that it happened after she was driven to an MTV Video Music Awards after party. Oh, and remember that lawyer from Texas who filed that federal lawsuit representing over 150 plus alleged Diddy victims? Well, that lawsuit was refiled yesterday to include Jay-Z as a defendant alongside Diddy. Now, let me tell you, Jay-Z did not take these allegations lightly, and he wrote a huge, lengthy statement on X strongly denying these claims, calling the lawyer, Tony Busby, a fraud and that he has a pattern of these kinds of theatrics. He said that he will not be settling and he will expose Tony Busby in a very public manner. As we know more, I'll keep you guys updated.
I appreciate you reporting the news, but Beyonce gonna be knocking on your door, brother.
So apparently this video, when it was being filmed, shows Syrian opposition fighters trying to learn how to fly helicopters on YouTube. Like, he's on his phone, like, watching a YouTube video on how to fly a helicopter that they just recently captured from the Assad regime. These days, you can learn how to do just about anything from YouTube. You can learn how to change your transmission, you can learn how to fix a bicycle chain, and perhaps you may be able to even learn how to fly a helicopter. Unconfirmed, but it's possible.
Search DCS MI8 Cold Start on YouTube.
Did you get fired for making fun of Puffy?
Yeah, by Hot 97. I had to fight a lawsuit. You know what it all came down to? They
came down to gay rappers. That's what it was
gay rappers and exposing. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Wendy, and she was on the radio talking all this way back in the day. I've been telling you things for years, but you don't want to hear. So, all right, fine. And I don't understand parents who unleash their kids. Oh. It's just a deeply moving story to me, because I know all of the story.
She knows. She knows. And I know she knows. And I know she knows.
People said they did something to Wendy to silence her.
This man single-handedly transformed the lives of millions of people. His name is Jim Rohn, and behind me are his 5 simple steps to go from average to fortune. 1. About 2 important things: your life goals and your personal development. 2. Study the things that will make you who you dream to be 5 years from now. But while you study, beware that if you don't get going, you're like the builder who keeps bringing materials to the building site, but never builds anything. 4. But not with false enthusiasm. Instead, get excited about these 3 things: your ability to make yourself do what's necessary, your potential, and the fact that any day you wish, you can change your life. 5. To be alone, to reflect, and to be with the people who are important to you.
Excellent presentation.
A victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious this shit is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator. Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They're not seeing the victim. They're not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there. Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him on. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that. Someone made reference to the fact that Diddy trying to get at Bieber the way he was trying to get at Bieber was looking a little predatory. And then Usher came in and discovered it and managed him and got custody of him and promised to look after him. And then he sent him to the diddler. Does that sound like a good guy?
It's horrible.
Does that sound like a good guy? Now that we know what Diddy's really like.
Sounds like Justin was the sacrifice Usher needed to Puff to leave him alone for a while.
Dinosaurs are actually dragons. But the reason there's no more dragons on Earth is why. Did you ever hear? No. So check this out. Every damn civilization has a depiction of a dragon, right? But how come we don't see no dragon bones? How come we don't see any dragons anywhere?
They're in the
Check this out.
museums.
Yeah, they're saying it's the dragon, it's the dinosaur bones that are actually dragons. But you know how they had that map of the world that says there's an ice wall and there's different continents beyond it. This is not just the entire world. There's beyond that.
Yeah.
The theory goes, because if you look at the art, depictions of dragons, what happens? The humans are always fighting with the dragons. So what if the dragons were pushed out, or they're so unwanted on Earth, they left to the next continent, fam? Beyond the ice wall, bro.
That's all. How to Train Your Dragon is actually they're just making fun of us. Like, this is what's actually going on.
Yeah, in like a next continent. In like a next continent, they have dragons. They're just chilling over there.
10 suspects can be seen smashing the windows of a jewelry store inside Markville Mall. 2 of the suspects are seen using hammers to break into the store and smash display cases, while other suspects are seen stealing items. The brazen robbery happened over the lunch hour. One witness says the store's security guard was assaulted.
They're banging punch with the security guard's face.
Witnesses say it lasted less than 5 minutes, the violent robbery sending mall employees and customers running for safety.
The people, they start running from to the escalator, yelling and screaming.
Police say some of the suspects took off in this Honda Civic that ended up rear-ending another vehicle at McCowan and Highway 7, injuring 2 people.
The occupants of the vehicle that was rear-ended did receive minor injuries and were taken to a local hospital as a precaution.
That led officers to chasing the suspects on foot. In total, police say they arrested 6 suspects. 2 were found inside this Tim Hortons a short distance from the scene.
Thank goodness the judge will give them a stern talking to and tell them to please don't do that anymore.
Hey bro, you want to know the craziest part about that CEO getting in broad daylight? It's this picture. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, the CEO of this big healthcare insurance company was walking to his hotel. This dude pulls up behind him. Let them things sing. And for now, he got away because he seemed to have planned everything perfectly. So it had me thinking, how did they get this picture? Well, that's because bro had a problem. It was because of a girl. But to understand what I mean, first you gotta know how bro did it. Now, I don't want to call him bro the whole video, so I'm gonna call him Run Him Down Jake, because he kind of looked like Jake Gyllenhaal to me. Anyway, Run Him Down Jake hops on a Greyhound from Atlanta to New York. Why is he going to New York? Because he knows the health insurance CEO has an annual, that means it happens every year, conference. So Run Him Down Jake says, bet I know where he finna be. He gets to New York and he goes into a hostel, which is kind of like a little hotel thing. He stays at the hostel, he chilling. The next morning he goes to the front desk, and here's where things start to get wicked. He sees an employee. I guess she kind of bad. So he said, oh, I think I'll say, yo, what's your name, mama? She said, my name not in the report, so for the sake of the TikTok, you can call me Employee 1. He said, okay, Employee 1, what's good? She said, take off your mask. He said, what, this mask? Now you know you handsome if you cannot wait to show off your... He said, she probably said, oh. He said, yeah, hold that thought. I gotta take care of something real quick. Well, Run Him Down Jake gets back activated. He pulls up to the CEO's hotel 5 minutes before the CEO arrives. And again, CEO pulls up. Run Him Down Jake lets him go. Now, here's the crazy part. On the shell casings, the thing that's left behind after you let them things go, there were words written on them. Delay and deny. What does that mean? Well, it's basically how health insurance companies operate. They delay giving you the money for treatment, because hopefully you get before they give you the money. They flat out deny claims, talking about, why would we get you new glasses? You got your hands. Why don't you just feel your way around? They defend their decisions in court because they got money. You probably don't have money, and they can pay for really good lawyers. And most of all, since it's tied up in the court system, that's even more of a delay. This is why people say health insurance companies are evil, but we'll get back to them in a second. As for Run 'em Down Jake, he hops on a bike, skirt! Boys start moving from the hotel, zing, zang, zoom. He gets to the park, Central Park, massive, massive park. And well, he probably had to change of clothes or something. He gets away. But going back to this picture, you gotta understand something. The police cannot let Run 'em Down Jake get away with this. And using this picture, they're gonna do everything in their power to catch him. Because like I said, everyone hates insurance companies. Millions of people have probably lost loved ones because of these insurance companies. So again, if he gets away, more people are probably gonna take matters into their own hands and do something similar. At least that's probably how it is in the eyes of police. Plus, they're gonna look stupid as hell because this happened in broad daylight. So they offered a $10,000 reward to find him. His company made $100 billion in the last 3 months. $10,000 reward. They actually don't care about bro. But here's what's worse for the police. Again, everyone hates insurance companies. United Healthcare makes a generic post saying, hey man, RIP to our CEO and all that. The people laugh. Because the human beings, it's a story. A man, a handsome man, that is important, stands up to health insurance companies the only way he feels like he can. You can't take him to court. Again, probably gonna lose. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, well, hey, look, the CEO was just doing his job. And you're right, he was. But so were German soldiers in World War II. In fact, this is called the Nuremberg argument. When they took German soldiers to trial for tripping in them camps, they said, look, we were just following orders. Does that make it right to do the best job you can, denying people health care, knowing that if they don't get it, they're gonna... Does the CEO share some of that responsibility? Well, that's a question for you to answer. But anyway, for now, Run 'em Down Jake hit the race on them boys, and so far has not been caught. For what happens next, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
That smile says everything we need to know. And 100 billion in 3 months, and they put up only $10,000? That's crazy work.
One of the major reasons for setting goals is for what they make of you in achieving them. My teacher advised me when I first got started at age 25, he said, Jim, why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? He said, it's got a nice ring to it, you know, enough zeros to impress your accountant. Why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? And he said, here's why. And I thought, he doesn't need to teach me why. Wouldn't it be nice to have $1 million? He said, no, then you'll miss it. He said, here's why. For what it will make of you to achieve it. I'm telling you, that statement changed my life. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. He said, now, once you become a millionaire, what's important is not the money. I thought, that's kind of strange teaching. He said, honest, it isn't important. He said, you could just give the money away. Now, I did better than that. I lost it all. By the time I was 31, I was a millionaire. By the time I was 33, I was broke. But when I lost all my money, guess what? I found out Mr. Schoaf was right. What was valuable was not the money. What was valuable was what I became to earn the money. The skills I had, the knowledge I had about the marketplace, the values that I had going for me. They were more valuable than the money. And here's an important statement to remember. It's not what you get that makes you valuable. It's what you become. So part of the key here is to set the kind of goals that will make something of you. Don't set them too low, so that you don't have to grow and you don't have to read and you don't have to try and you don't have to stretch. Don't set them too low.
Back in his day, $1 million would be like $15 million today.
A famous one is the all-American breakfast. You get your eggs, you get your bacon, you get your sausages, you get your orange juice, you get your milk. But 100 years ago, that wasn't breakfast. A breakfast wasn't a thing. Edward Benet, known as the father of propaganda, launched the breakfast campaign because the meat industry came to him and said, dude, we're slacking on meat sales. What can we do? So he's like, it's too hard to convince the average person I need to go to the people that are already sources of authority. So what did he go and do? He went and convinced who? The doctors, the pediatricians, that breakfast was the most essential diet. With all these studies, all these experiments, and all this bullshit, it was all paid propaganda. So Edward Bernays launches the breakfast propaganda campaign and turns breakfast into a rousing success. He did it as well with cigarettes.
Every time I eat breakfast, I get so sleepy and tired for some reason.
There's different things that will happen to you if you sleep in different directions. Okay. One of the worst, apparently, sleeping north. The blood will rush to your head because of the magnetic pull of the north. I don't know if that's necessarily true. This is all just like theories, right? West, that's the most relaxing, but it's also the most comfortable. So you get lazy, you don't feel like doing stuff. Yeah. East, it makes you feel the most inspired, but almost restless. When we were in the condo, I was sleeping east. I couldn't sleep. I started sleeping south now, and supposedly south is one of the best. South-facing sleep is preferable and believed to encourage longevity. North-facing sleep is considered detrimental to a person's health. Damn. When I sleep here though, I am facing south, but what happens, I drift this way. And if you watch me, when I wake up, I'm like northwest.
I sleep east, west, north, south. Sometimes I don't even know where I'm sleeping.
How can a country where its people live like this, with no roof, no air conditioning, no electricity, claim they're socialists, but have a Samsung store in that same neighborhood? This is in La Habana, Cuba. And despite the TikTok tankies telling you there's an embargo on Cuba, Samsung seems to be operating just fine here. Anybody can come to this store, but the prices will shock you. Like this TV that's 10,000 CUC, which is equivalent to 10,000 US dollars. Yes, that is a 55-inch TV for $10,000. 4 times what it's probably worth in the US. And with a population that only makes $20 a month on average, people just come in here to look at new things that they could never buy in their lives. And yes, that's Yoel right there. And it was his first time ever entering a store like this. That's the reality Reddit won't show you. Soy Gusana, Padre.
Thank you for all your information. Breaks my heart for the Cuban people. Oh, who's affording them?
One question, did this motherfucker know too much? Did this CEO know too much and do too much and pay the ultimate price for it? I think so. And I don't like it. This morning, Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was shot and killed right outside a luxury hotel in Manhattan. And you can't tell me that this is random. This was a hit, and let me explain it to y'all. Earlier this year, Thompson and 3 other top execs sold millions of dollars of company stock. But guess when they did this? Just weeks before everybody found out that United Health was being investigated by the DOJ for antitrust. Coincidence? I think not. And here's what's even more suspicious. Thompson pocketed over $15 million from these sales. So either that was perfect timing or that was some insider trading, the type of shit that pissed somebody off. I think it was the trade. Illegal trade. Insider trade. Even Senator Elizabeth Warren demanded that the SEC investigate. She went as far as to say the trades reeked of corruption. But then again, what if it just wasn't about money? This morning, a masked gunman attacked Brian Thompson in broad daylight. No robbery, no random attack. This was personal. And the killer is still on the loose. Whether this has something to do with the stock scandal or this was a retaliation or to send a message, this was a hit. And I'm going to go deep dive into this on my podcast, The Flow Show No Filter, on Apple and Spotify. I'm out.
Was thinking of the Denzel Washington movie, where healthcare execs, they think they know more than doctors.
So what do you do when you're betrayed, ultimately by some people you come across?
Grieve and look elsewhere. Do what you can to forgive, and not least so you lighten your own burden. Maybe do what you can to help the person who betrayed you. And if that all proves impossible, then wash your hands of it and move on to the next adventure. Betrayal is the inversion of trust, right? You can't betray me unless I've trusted you. And trust is the precondition for all social relations. And so to betray someone who deeply trusts you is to demolish the foundation of relationship itself. And so that's why Dante placed it way deep down in the substructure of hell. And so when betrayal occurs, then you're faced with all those problems. To recover from this, you're going to have to be able to trust again. But trust will have to be predicated on something like courage rather than naivety. And the courage is something like the courage all wise people have when they undertake a relationship, which is something like, I know perfectly well that you're chock full of snakes, just like me. But the best pathway forward, nonetheless, is for us to extend a hand in trust to each other and see if we can build a valid and solid and sustainable and iterable relationship despite our mutual inadequacies and our proclivity for malevolence.
I don't think you ever fully get over it. Rather, you learn to live with it.
No risk, no Ferrari. And we know this to be true. If you want to win the game of life, if you want to take it to the top, you have to be able to sacrifice who you are today for who you want to become. Just because I understand that if you plant enough seeds, in due time, you will reap massive rewards. And it worked out.
Oh, right.
He'd be driving and suddenly he'd be like 20, 19, 18. He'd like pull over to the side of the road, and that was my cue that I was supposed to get out of the car and then run, basically. And I was supposed to evade him. And so it was like for a timed period of like 2 or 3 hours, I would be trying to run away from him while he tracked me. And if he caught me, I would get punished. Like my rib cage is covered in these scars because he would count coup. Back then, I got really proud of myself when I would get away from him, instead of realizing that I was being chased through the woods by somebody who killed children.
Oh.
How many children did you watch him kill?
I can remember, well, him specifically, not the group 5.
So you physically watched him kill 5?
Yeah.
How many did you witness?
Probably 7 over the course of my life, I think. Yeah.
Teal thought of escaping, telling someone, anything to get out, but fear would stop her.
One of the first programs that was done on me like that, he had me breathing and then go through an elaborate visualization where he was walking me through my home, having just told, okay, you just told people about me, and you just told people who you really are. So what do you see hanging from the rafters? I shrugged my shoulders. He goes, do you see that that's your mother? Do you see that her blood is all over the floor?
Teal knows many won't believe her. What she says is hard to confirm, but what she shares is also the focus of dozens of investigations around the country. Lieutenant Larry Jones, a former Boise police officer, was instrumental in a Department of Justice report on cult rituals. The report admits crimes like these are hard to prove, but says it is imperative that the cases be solved. In Teal's case, which she says was turned over to police, no charges have ever been filed.
I think that we're in a time where we have to open up to these a lot darker aspects of the human psyche. We have to admit that these things go on, and we have to provide ways for both sides of the equation to heal.
In most documented cases of ritual abuse, it's often close friends or family who commit the crime. Teal says the issue is bigger than anyone can ever imagine.
I think with every single case that we see coming out with this, people are more forced to accept the reality that this stuff occurs instead of just discrediting every single one of us, which has been the status quo for so long. It's really easy to write us off and say we're mentally ill. Most of us who go through these scenarios, we think that, you know, it's happening because we deserve it, or it's happening because we're evil, or some stupid thing like that. Sorry, I'm like...
I know what many of you just heard is probably hard for you to believe, and I can tell you that I sat across from Teal for 3 hours, and I myself had a very hard time believing it. I did reach out to several mental health providers to see if Teal's behavior was consistent with the abuse that she described. None of them would go on camera to talk about it. Coming up in about 10 minutes, I'm going to ask Teal some tough questions about her claims, and you'll hear what she has to say.
I remember watching this in 2015. People were calling her insane for years.
Oh, I'm a peaceful man. It's like, no, you're not. You're just a weak coward. You wouldn't dare to have a confrontation, physical or metaphysical. And you're passing it off as morality because you don't want to come to terms with the fact of your own weakness and cowardice. And part of what I would say is twisted pseudo-Christian morality that Nietzsche was criticizing was exactly of that sort. And it tied into resentment and envy. And he tied that in explicitly. Said that failure in life, masked by the morality that's nothing but weak cowardice, turns to the resentment that undermines and destroys everything, and that does that purposefully.
Yeah, I think he was criticizing if under the facade of niceness, there's an ocean of resentment.
Yeah, that's for sure. That for sure. That's also the danger of being too forthcoming with people. See, this is another thing, let's say, about my wife, who's not particularly agreeable. It's like, she's not particularly agreeable, but she's not resentful. And that's because she doesn't give things away that she isn't willing to. And if you're agreeable and nice and you're conflict avoidant, you'll push yourself too far to please the other person. And then that makes you bitter and resentful. So that's not helpful.
Some people are nice by choice, and some people are nice because they have no choice.
This guy went on CNN and said he thinks this guy was hired by Brian Thompson. Why? Maybe because he was being investigated by for insider trading, and some people he wanted to get away. But then again, the people who don't want him to talk could also be planning evidence or stories to make it look like he did that to himself. Now, they did say by hiring Tom Cruise, he could still get insurance money, because if he didn't hire Tom Cruise and he unalived himself, then he couldn't get insurance money, or the family, or whatever. Or did they deny coverage? As you can see here, they 32% denial rate. Did somebody just get pissed and blow this guy's back out? No, did he? Let me know in the comments, what the really happened? And I don't like it.
I heard he was supposed to testify against Nance P. You know what who I'm talking about? You know, in an insider trading investigation. I don't want to say her full name because YT might take down my video.
What I'm saying is I don't believe the history we've been taught. Here's a good example. Have you ever heard about Lewis and Clark going across the Mississippi? In 1803, there was nothing there supposedly back in those days. Okay, so now think about that. So we're talking about like 200 years ago, there was nothing west of the Mississippi as far as the America was concerned. Now talk about when these cities were founded and became cities like we know today. And explain to me how that makes even a lick of sense. Like, so how did Chicago go from like literally like a tent city in 1840 to Chicago like we know it by 1860? You think about all the central planning that would have took. Then you go like to places like San Francisco. San Francisco like had 1,000 people in like 1840. And then there's a panoramic shot very famously, and it shows the whole city in 1873. And it's a full-grown city. There ain't one bit of construction happening right there, but the whole city is fully grown. San Francisco was supposedly discovered in 1776. So this is around the time what it would have got its name. Well, here's the interesting thing. There's old maps that are 200 years older than that actually either have S. Francisco on it in that same area, or they straight up say San Francisco. Where Chicago is at, there's old maps from like the 1500s that say Shalaga.
Takarian Empire?
Of course they want to ban TikTok, and they probably will. Guys, this app is dangerous. For politicians whose job it is to control the narrative and to feed us propaganda at any chance they can get, an app like this where information travels at the speed of light is one of the most threatening things to any government, especially the United States government. Young people are not getting their news from mainstream media anymore. We are getting it from each other. We are sharing our experiences that goes against the grain of what the government and what people in power have been telling us for centuries. This app is not like Instagram where everything has to be shiny and new. We can be raw, uncut. We can be critical on this app, and there's a good chance that all of these qualities will actually make you more successful. On apps like Facebook and Twitter, there is a slow burn, but you put out a video on this app and it spreads like wildfire. There is nothing more threatening to a fascist government. The narrative is not immediately believed. We question it, we break it down, we go against it, and we do so in rapid time. Of course they want to ban TikTok. Of course they will ban TikTok. Any app that facilitates information getting between its citizen without any sort of governmental inputs, without any sort of editing, this will always be threatening to the powers that be. And so if you guys think that TikTok is the last, you are sorely mistaken. They'd rather us all be on Instagram, envying one another, being mean to one another, editing down videos to 1 minute and 30 seconds, paying for engagement. We are more difficult to control on TikTok, and that is their worst nightmare.
Freedom of speech is very dangerous for any government on this planet. What is that? Whoa! Looks like an alien. E.T. AI maybe?
Oh yeah, look at this. This is cool. There's the spaceship. You see it? It's right there. Yes, it is. No, it's not. I guarantee it, Veronica. Look at it. No, that's what me. Look at it. Holy cripes. No, it's not. No, it is not. It is not. Look at it. It's perfect. It's perfectly freaking round. Look at it. This is what happens. There it is. Veronica, I guarantee it. I'm filming a spaceship right now. You can see it flat out, man.
Nobody is real in this world except your mother. Let's talk about loyalty. In a world that's constantly changing, the one person who has your back from the very beginning is your mother. She's the one who saw you through your hardest days, the one who sacrificed her own comfort for yours, the one who never gave up on you even when you gave up on yourself. There's a depth of love in a mother's heart that can't be replicated. Other people in your life, they might love you. Sure, they might support you. But no one will ever care for you the way your mother does. Now think about this. How often do we take her for granted? How often do we get so caught up in our own lives that we forget to say thank you? Don't wait until it's too late. Show her love. Show her appreciation. Because she's the truest friend you'll ever have in this world. And if you've lost your mother, hold on to the lessons she taught you. Her legacy lives in you.
God bless all the mothers in the world.
Wizard of Oz, and there's an album. I don't know if I talked about it, but it's by Pink Floyd. It's called The Dark Side of the Moon. If you play The Wizard of Oz and the album The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd at the exact same time, this is by accident.
What
apparently Joe Rogan says it's a glitch in the Matrix, that if you play both of them at the same time, every song, every scene match up. No. Yeah, it all matches up, and every single like build up in sound and build up in the scene matches up exactly to the song. The scene change matches up to the next song change.
Wait, how long is that Pink Floyd album then?
It's as long as a movie. It's as long as a movie.
It's like an hour?
Yeah. There's a lot of songs. Right?
There's a lot of
because it's a full album. But if you think about it, bro, like
that's actually true. Like I can do it right now.
Yeah, you can play the album and play the movie at the same time, and it will line up. And people have done it like on YouTube and stuff, and tried looking at it, and it lines up perfectly. It's so weird. Scenes, scene changes, the way rise and falls. It's crazy. Now people are saying like, oh, he definitely planned it.
Yeah,
that's how they made the album. But he was on Joe Rogan's podcast and said that whole thing, accident.
Nothing to do with anyone in Pink Floyd.
Yeah, it just so happened.
I'm lazy to check, yo. Someone tell me if it's true.
I found this crazy video on the Bird app, and what it's showing is a giant wall of ice under Antarctica. And this wall of ice seems to be going to the very bottom of the ocean, but also running underneath the sand. I do wonder why this video is not more public than it should be. You know, you figure they find these giant walls that all of science would know. And by the way, look at the color of this so-called wall of ice. It looks very similar to something that's above our head. And in coming across that video, it reminded me a ton of Admiral Byrd's expedition to Antarctica. And the footage we have of that, which most people aren't even aware of. The only way you even come across is if you look really heavily into it. But there was like crazy, crazy tall ice that they had to literally do a high jump to get onto. I'm gonna fast forward right now because they literally had hundreds of miles of just a giant, giant wall of ice. I wonder why we're not taught about this stuff in geography.
Did they find the age of the dome?
Is it true that men are less attractive to successful women?
If you show a man a photograph of a woman who's dressed like a CEO and she's gorgeous, and you show a man a picture of a woman who's dressed like a Burger King service person and she's drop dead gorgeous, men are going to find her similarly attractive in both conditions. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the woman is doing. And there's been research that shows this. They'll show men and women photographs of people in different types of outfits, and the men's ratings of how attractive the women are has just everything to do with how attractive the women are. For women rating men, it all depends on what they're wearing. Do they show cues to resource access? Do they not show cues to resource access? And women tend to modulate how physically attractive they find men based on whether or not they have these cues related to provisioning ability.
This is gonna make a lot of women angry.
There's a phenomenon that everybody remembers, almost like a Mandela effect. Do you remember as a child floating downstairs? Oh yeah! For some reason, especially people around our age, remember when they were younger, we all floated downstairs.
That's weird. What does it mean?
People are still trying to figure it out. Ask almost everyone our age. We have a common belief of doing that. There is a theory giving a reason for it. Okay. Now the reason being, you know those times you come back after the mall or like a long day somewhere out with your parents, and then you fall asleep in the car.
Oh,
so when
it's
you
like
fall
you
asleep
feel
in the
like
car, your parents pick you up and bring you back to your bed, and you're floating up the stairs.
Oh yeah, I remember. I didn't float though. I fell.
This was the only governmentally...
Disclaimer. All right, the following clip is disturbing.
confirmed case of possession. All psychological and pharmacological explanations were ruled out. A completely unknown molecular compound was found in a tissue. Something was inside, no doubt about it. Not a disease, not a parasite, an evil.
How many noses does a monkey have?
In 1974, a group of scientists would band together and form what was known as the Atticus Institute, and they had one goal.
Our goal was to conduct unbiased empirical research on exceptional human abilities, psychokinesis, ESP, precognition, things that are typically considered fringe science or parapsychology.
And for 2 years, they would encounter pretty much nothing but fakes. At least until 1976, when a woman by the name of Judith Winstead had been dropped off at their door like a baby at a fire station.
She would scream in that voice.
The Institute thought that they had hit a gold mine with Judith. However, the worst had yet to come.
Judith, what I'd like you to try to do is to move the wheel without actually touching it. Try to concentrate your mind.
Because as soon as the U.S. military caught wind of what they were doing, they wanted a piece of that sweet psychic cake.
Having the ability to remotely collect intel, be able to read the minds of foreign leaders to know exactly what their plan of attack is, where they were, and what they were thinking at any given moment, all from thousands of miles away. We were looking at the future of clandestine warfare, where attacks could be as strategic and as untraceable as we saw fit.
Now, if you would like to go watch the Atticus Institute for yourself, it is available on Tubi. It is a phenomenal found footage movie, and I would highly recommend you take an evening to watch this one. It is...
Movie name is Atticus Institute.
Well, look at this. It looks like every single country is now evacuating to Antarctica because they know that the ice there is melting and they're looking for an opening in the ice wall to go and escape to. because they know they are losing the war here. Even though they signed this treaty that only allows them to go explore there, not civilians, only high-ranking government officials and scientists are allowed to go there, they are still trying to get away from it all. They already tried to make it past the ice wall by going on foot and using a crane to put them on top of it, but they realized that they couldn't make it that far because the conditions were too harsh. Then they tried digging a huge tunnel, but that didn't work either when they ran into sky ice. And if you don't know what that is, just look it up. But it's basically when oxygen gets so cold that it turns into a solid, and it's like a light blue color. They are looking for the lost civilizations beyond the ice wall because there's a different group of people that's been attacking them for the past 100 years in their underground tunnels. And this war against the government is being done by Valiant Thor from Venus. And here's some intel from back in March where he talks about lost technology and Atlantis being frozen underneath the ice. And here's another update from him where he says he's eradicating chimeras, serpents, and red jelly blobs. But what do you guys think? Is this all true, or is it all just made up? Is there a secret cabal that's being driven out of Earth and they're trying to find some way to escape? Or is it just nothing and this is all just a bunch of craziness? If you want to talk about it, join my Discord. The link is in the bio. And don't forget to check out my merch. It's also in the link in bio.
How do we know we can believe this?
Chronovisor is a conspiracy that involves the Vatican. This man, who was a monk in Italy named Pellegrino Ernetti, and he had this skill set of restoring old Gregorian chants. And he was working with this other guy who was his boss. And then the guy who he was working with, the guy heard his father's voice. And he's like, that sounds like my dad, this frequency that was coming in. He heard his father talking about shining shoes or a shoe repair or something. He's like, that is my father, because he was a cobbler. They're able to like tap into this whole past life. And so that got Father Pellegrino to start doing research into what he called residual energy. He theorized that that could be detected. He went back, fragments had remained, and no one knew what the play was. He went back and was able to watch the whole play and write down the entire play.
That is nuts,
and so
dude.
They went to the Pope with it, and the Pope said, you have to get rid of it. He said, this is way too dangerous to have. Supposedly, they dismantled it, but there's a lot of people theorizing that the Vatican still has it, they still use it, and potentially the CIA is involved in it.
Would this be considered remote viewing?